So good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our panel on our discussion really about just that transformative power of AI. And so we've heard a lot today about, Dr. Janet Spriggs this morning kind of kicked it off about just get started, try it. Don't be afraid of it, get going. And so our panel today is really for those folks on the front line and who are the ones championing that within their institutions to really start using it in everyday practice. So we're really hoping this afternoon we just get into some discussion, we'll have some Q&A, and really want them to share the things that have gone well. How do you get people on board? Maybe any obstacles that they've shared, because it's all great in theory, but it's the practice and starting to use it that really begin to make the impact. So they're gonna share with you some of their real challenges that they've had, the excitement that they've had, and just sort of where they're going to go in the future. So with that, we'll just sort of get started. As we've been talking over the last 2 days, AI has really opened up a whole different world of opportunities for our students that we serve, as well as within the institutions. So our sort of first question for the panel is, can you all sort of share with me just some of the exciting benefits your institution has discovered from using AI? So Hannah, why don't you kick us off?
Okay. So for us, as you've heard from Dr. Spriggs and Devin earlier, obviously it's been a huge time saver. So 67,000 minutes in 9 months, or Devin thinks in episodes of TV like 50, but I think in days. So 47 days have been saved. That's a lot. That's 24-hour days, not 8-hour days too, if you think about that. So it's just a lot of time that has been saved. And then the ease of access for the students, just to get the questions answered super quickly and at 1 a.m. when there's not anybody on campus, has just been really helpful. And then our student care team monitoring that live as well during the day. So.
Yeah, I think similarly, just the amount of time being from a small institution, small staff who wear multiple hats, being able to focus on the things that we want to do rather than the things we have to do, eliminating a lot of that manual effort and the processes of the day-to-day job has really been impactful, not only for student morale, but staff morale.
I work on the marketing side of our enrollment or admission, so I have found that it's really helpful to be creative through AI, ask questions, and also give me great ideas for emails.
So I think we heard a few things, right? From the student side, none of us want to be answering questions at 1 a.m. So there's an exciting benefit, but also just the time that you've gotten back. And I think Dr. Spriggs said it really well this morning. That's time back to spend on the value of the relationship. Not saying that those questions aren't important to answer, but really spending that time sitting down with that first gen student when they're ready to go. I think about just other surprises. I think going off a little more what you just said, Claire, about there's this fear sometimes that it's like it maybe in marketing that it's not going to allow me to be as creative, but it sounds like you've found a way that it's actually helped you be even more creative. Is there any examples that come to mind for you on that?
Yeah, I mean, I would have to say probably interactions whenever we want to talk about a scholarship, and it'll give me, I'll ask for different emojis and different ways for me to give a point. Sometimes I'll find where we've sent this email a million times, how do we re-ask the question and make it a better way? Sometimes I'll ask it to give me a different format of the email, and I find that that's really helpful, and it makes me think outside the box because we get so used to everything in higher education, kind of, it's the same deadline, it's the same event, but it really helps me reinvent what I'm trying to portray.
Awesome. And so I think we all know, and I've had the honor to talk to many of you over the last few days, innovating or integrating any new technology comes with its set of hurdles, right? I once had a president told me, You know, Jamie, nobody wakes up in the morning and says, let's put in a whole new SIS or the whole new CRM. And he's like, we know we need to do it, but there's a lot of things that come with that. And a lot of you are managing teams and have teammates. And so you always have your champions, and all of you are going to come back super, super excited and want to get going. But can any of you just share what have just been some of your challenges of initially, you know, getting the teams going when you've been using either BoltBot or the assistants, or just some of those challenges you faced within the office on a day-to-day basis? Whoever wants to go first.
I think for us, we integrated our first big SIS in 2019. We're a colleague school, and then very quickly after we started implementing Element 451. And so I think 2019 to 2021, we all know what happened, and implementing two massive pieces of technology, moving away from our legacy system that was a homegrown, looked like you could play Pong on it, like really bad. I think we were facing a lot of burnout. And so when I come back from Engage last year and I'm like, there's this new AI chatbot, let's go. Like, I was the one who woke up in the morning and said, I'm doing this. And I think our administration was like, slow down, Courtney, you're crazy. But I think the way that I overcame it was showing people what it was going to be able to do for our students. We all want to support our students, and having the open-mindedness of a team who's willing to adapt to current technology to be able to make the student experience better was key, and being able to show them hands-on, this is what it is going to look like, this is how it's going to impact, helped us overcome that challenge.
Excellent.
I think one of the biggest challenges for me and people I've talked with is understanding how to prompt correctly and know how to ask questions to the AI correctly. I found it really helpful. I did Artist's masterclass on prompting, and it just kind of gives you the layout of what you specifically need to be asking for while you're prompting each of the questions you might have.
Yeah, I think for us, that we have, Devin said 124, things in our knowledge base. One of those is the website. The other 123 are not. So while the website data was clean and pristine and up to date, the rest of it was not. So it took some time to really make sure that the knowledge base was what we needed it to be. With the help of Insights, though, made that a lot easier. But that was our challenge in the beginning, was just getting all of the data cohesive, so that we're not counteracting each other with different, one thing says this and one thing says that. So just making sure it's all uniform.
I think we heard 3 different themes there. One is when you're introducing something to folks, start with the why. And it wasn't about, we're trying to change this process, we want to do something innovative. It was, this is how it's going to help the student. And it's less about sort of you or the technology, putting it in the voice of the student. We heard a little bit about you have to play with it and use it for a while. I think any of us who've been using the AI, I kind of feel like I have a personal relationship, and it's the more you use it, it starts to know my tendencies better, and so there is a little bit of that, just that practice, getting comfortable with it, spending that time. I'll put the plug-in on the Element website. There's all these AI resources to really help you with the prompting and how to get comfortable with that. And sort of the third is it's not always, like anything we do within our roles, it's not always right at the beginning, right? You're learning from it, you're constantly tweaking, and it's just a continued evolution. And when you had said that, Claire, about, it's the same event every year, right? How many of you have been, it's registration time, right? Every year. How can you continue to just say that in a different way and do that so you don't get stuck? So thank you for sharing those. Understanding those challenges is crucial as we begin to navigate things forward. I always think about any technology is really the perfect combination of people, process, and technology, right? You got to have the people on board, you got to have them trained, you got to know what they want. You got to have really great product and technology, and then the process is really why are we using that? And in, I think all of you, I think it's safe to say, right, there's infinite demands, finite resources. There's only so much to go around. And, you start this excitement. How do you guys keep that excitement within your offices going? And how do you just build up that enthusiasm for these adoption of new things?
I think I like, what I have found is I share and I show my excitement. I like to tell people we're new, like this is brand new. It's okay to ask questions, but always be sharing with your teammates something new that has worked out for you through AI.
Yeah, I think part of our keeping the excitement up about it, I live in a rural community. A lot of people don't even have access to broadband internet. So the concept of bringing in AI can be scary, and people hear things like we're all going to lose our jobs and it's going to take over, and like the robot existential crisis of AI. And so a big thing for me and my team is transparency. We're going to learn what it does together. I'm going to teach you about it. We're going to work through it, and I think they get excited when they get to see how it's impacting their life. And they get excited and they go and share that and say, look what I taught my mom, So it's really cool to teach them and educate my staff and my students, and then watch it continue to impact their lives, and they get excited.
Yeah, I think like they said, like it's really easy when you're really excited about something to just try to like spread that like wildfire. But it's really cool to see the staff and the faculty also getting excited, because we're hearing from them, hey, I used Vault Discovery and I shared that with a student in real time, in the meeting, in the conversation. And so then one advisor tells another advisor so it really just kind of is an internal flame that just sets off, and so excited about all the different things that are coming, and knowing that it seems and we're so excited to see where it continues to go, that it's not something that's just, AI is growing. It's not, okay, here it is and this is what it is, but what are the continued potential possibilities, and to not get worried that it's some type of competition, and reframing into that, and how can this better help our students and better help us with our time as well.
How have any of you addressed the, well, this is going to take over my job because I am the one that they used to call to ask questions? Have you had that on any of your campuses, or how you've sort of dealt with that? We've had some, new institutions who've come on, and, that was a concern, that the folks who answered the live chat were worried about, being replaced. Have you dealt with any of that in the office, or not too much?
Not too much for my case. I think if you're complacent in your job enough that you're worried that an AI is going to be able to take over the entirety of your job, you need to think about evolving a little more.
Yeah. I've seen a lot of head nodding.
Our jobs are never going to stay stagnant. Higher ed is never going to stay stagnant.
Right.
This is just the next thing that we have to adopt, and we need to roll with the punches and get on board, or it will take your job if you're going to stay there. So.
Yeah, I think exactly. Like, it's just reminding that no 2 days look the same. There's going to be a different question tomorrow than there was today. Some may be consistent, but some are completely different. So even if there's a little bit of fear, which I think is completely natural, is that you can use that to be like, well, you learn too. Let's learn alongside the student. Let's learn together, so that anything that seems scary becomes really, really fun and exciting.
Anything you want to add? I also think about it, you all mentioned just the continued education. So I think, we've been very fortunate at Element 451 that even Artis has really taken the time for us at Element to really teach us outside of our product, what it is, how to use it. So I'd encourage all of you to think about how are you integrating that additional learning within your teams. We do something within the customer success team. We have I was a former educator, so my mind goes back there a lot to what we call PLCs. It's professional learning communities, and so we try to take that time where we're doing things to learn and continue our skills, and you can also have some fun with the AI. So if any of you are new to implementing Element 451 and you happen to see those very funny test usernames, we had a good time asking AI to help us develop really creative, fun test names when we're onboarding and training folks. So think about it that way too. Or maybe have some challenges within your team, like, hey, I want you all to see who can come up with some different campaigns, or a different way for us to say the same it's registration time for like, some of you 25, 30 years, you've been saying the same thing every September. So there's really creative, simple ways that you can continue just to have some fun too with it within your offices. So it's really, I get excited, all the different, they're really not, I don't always view them as challenges. It's kind of like, okay, we don't know about it, right? I think some of us were around, the world was going to end in Y2K in 2000, remember? Like 1999, like everyone was like, what's going to happen to every computer? So it's just one of those constant, I see some folks laughing, so they must have some good memories of that time in their lives. But so, and what's today, it's going to change tomorrow, and it's going to keep changing. And so what do you kind of like get excited about of thinking of like, oh, if it could really help me, or where would you like to see it kind of go from where you've been to when you look ahead? I know I personally want it to come like, can you like start my laundry and fold it?
I think that would be great if anybody can figure that out. I think I got really excited today just knowing that we'd be able to put like it in the campaigns and integrating it that way. Like that got me so excited from an element side of things. I think it's just literally knowing that it's only going to continue to grow from here. Like that's so exciting. I love the unknown. Some people are like, you're wild for that, but I love the unknown. Like let's see what's going to happen next. I can't like put a finger on one particular thing, but tomorrow's tomorrow, so let's see.
I think for me, I want to be able to feed it my academic calendar and have it preset events and campaigns for me. I want it to think ahead and just have them ready to go so I can just go in and edit them and, make them pretty and then go. Do my year for me.
Yeah, no, I think I agree with you, Hannah, I'm just so excited for all the things that I haven't even thought to integrate AI with, and it's just so exciting to know that it's just only going to streamline my job so much more so I can focus on other exciting tasks.
Exactly.
Well, and I think, all of you came or you're watching on the live stream because you're thinking about, you're already a champion for it, otherwise you wouldn't be here learning, you're taking that first step, and really thinking about, let your teams help you. Like throw the challenge out about like how could we do this and let them explore and bring some ideas to the table. I think that's another really way because they can start to see those successes, or like you had mentioned, like the faculty member used it and found the value of it right away with a student, and then was like, hey, this really helped me during my advising meeting. And then once again, it was all back to what we're trying to do, and that's improve lives and working with students each and every day. So, there's some things that you can do there. So, we're going to anticipate, like I think we've heard some really exciting things this week, and next week there'll be something new. And as we think forward, if you went back to the very first day that you were like, came back from Engage or something else, and you were like, okay, we're gonna use this, what's some of your best practices or tips that you might have given yourself then? Or like, if you're gonna do something, this is my advice.
I think my team knows I always say be specifically bossy to your AI while you're talking to it. I think a lot of times people just stop after they get their answer from the prompt, but lean into it more, regenerate the question, ask for more options. Don't just stop after you think, okay, my answer is answered, or my question is answered.
I think for us is really something that has really worked is really encouraging your staff and faculty to use it and try to stump it. Try to find something, and if you do, please let me know. But also, that really helps because it really fosters that we're all in this together. This just isn't something that marketing threw up on the website and let's give it a go. But this is something that it really is going to enhance the student experience, because really the goal is that every student feels like they're the only student, right? So when you really get into that and you have a chatbot that's talking to it and then it hands off to a human, it's just letting them know, let's do this together. And also the second would be really having someone that can really hone in on that knowledge base. When you have have a lot of hands on it. Somebody might change one, custom answer, and then it really just can throw things into a loop. So when you have somebody that's really focusing on it and knows it backward and forwards, it really helps the integration be much smoother.
Yeah, I think something we did that allowed us to get our bot up pretty quickly was we knew that we wanted it to be able to talk about a lot of different parts of our institution, and so we knew we were going to have to build out this knowledge base when you have one person and it's like, take everything up here, take everything on your website and feed it to a bot. That's so overwhelming, and it feels like you have a mountain to climb because we're all subject matter experts, and you want this bot to be a subject matter expert on everything. And so we went to every department that we knew we wanted the bot to be able to talk about, and I said, give me your 10 or 15 or 20 frequently most asked questions or most had conversations. I took it in an Excel sheet, and that really helped me organize the person who was building out the knowledge base. It helped us to have a really cohesive effort to get it up off the ground, and it saved us so much time from having to go as an individual person and find all the information, make sure it was correct. I brought the subject matter experts to the table to build the mega one, so.
I think there's an important note there that it's representing, as much as, we want, I think about this just within my team or the institutions, you always hear, oh, I love that admission counselor, I love this person, and that faculty member, and that's great, but we're all representing, everyone on your team is representing that institution. And like you said, using the AI, that's an extension of the institution and you as a person, and how do you just go to those other experts, right? And then they're on board, because there's also a level of confidence that what you're saying about the institution or their program that they have a lot of pride in is accurate, and they feel that way. Any other sort of, we want to make sure that we have some time of either for folks to share what they've done at their institutions to help each other out, as well as just take some questions on anything about how to really get things moving and using and doing all of the things that we've heard over the last 2 days. But any other sort of last closing thoughts before we kind of turn it to the audience? I won't spring like a question on them, I hadn't told them, so. But just any sort of last thoughts that come to mind.
I think in higher education, we're in a really unique spot where we're the people who are skilling the future workforce, and AI will be a huge part of the future workforce. So we either need to be providers of it, or we're going to become irrelevant. So it's time to get on board, and it's time to start using it.
Yeah, I echo that. I think that's perfect. Never let your fear of something stop you from learning something new. And you're never, like they say, you can't teach an old dog new tricks, but you're never too old to learn something. So just take that step. If it seems scary, I promise it's worth it.
All right. All right. We'll just kind of open it up. If not, we have a few more. Oh, we have one right back.
Great panel, thank you so much. So I was donned the systems champion, or whatever fancy title you want to call it, and I'm sort of leading the charge of our implementation, and so I'm excited, but now I'm scared a little. What are your, this is a little bit more of like a logistical question, but as the team captain, how do you manage everybody not coming to you? I think that's my biggest concern. Obviously, we're a small institution, everyone's excited, but they know that, like, I'm here and I'm at the conference and I'm going to be the person with all the knowledge. What did you do? Who did you employ, and kind of, strategize so that you weren't like the only one everybody was going to?
So it's hard, and it feels kind of impossible at first, because you're given this huge task of not only bringing this new technology to life, but bringing on all of these other people. And honestly, Element is like my baby, and I don't want people messing with it. I don't want someone to break it or drop it on its head, because that's just a downer for everybody. But I think something that has been really important is just transparency. going to them, we had an implementation team, and bringing together the people that I knew were going to be what I've heard referred to as a super user, or people who use it regularly, bringing them all to the table to show them what it is. And I think the main thing is showing each other how it interacts. I use this analogy a lot. Element is like a sandbox. We can all be playing in the sandbox. We can all have our separate sand castles, but it's all made up of the same thing. It's all the same material. And if someone does something in the sandbox, it's going to impact everyone. And that has been really helpful, is educating those around me of, if you do this, this is how it's going to not only impact admissions, it's going to impact marketing. This is why we can't do this way. And that was really helpful, just being flat out honest from the beginning. And it built a level of trust. I knew they knew my expectations. They had expectations of me leading the project implementation. And we're now 2 years, 3 years going into 4 years with Element. And I think everyone is really on board and really supportive of the platform.
One thing that comes to mind on that, because we get asked that question a lot when we bring on a new partner, like, where do we start? Because they're so excited we can use it for this and that. And, one of the things we always share with them is let's start sometimes at the beginning. Let's work with our prospective students, or if it's current students, let's just pick one. Let's get that up. Let's get that running. Let's get that super successful, and letting the team know, then we're going next. Then we're going this one. Then we're going this one. So one, they can see that plan, but then you can also quickly, it goes a lot faster, right, once you get that up and going. But I recognize it's hard for your team captains, because everyone's like, oh, this is going to save us so much time, and it's so easy, and it's so smooth, and then you start to have those early successes, and everyone's like, can I do what they're doing? Because it's going so well, the way they're interacting with students. So I think just say, hey, let's focus on this one, then the next one, then the next one. And sharing as much as possible, and just acknowledging, like, we know you're super excited, but hang on, we'll get there. And it's an evolution a little bit. So, good question.
Rome wasn't built in a day.
Right here. Hang on, our awesome runner's coming to you.
Thank you very much. I think it's been a thrilling.
Can you use the mic? We can't. Thank you.
I'm saying it has been a thrilling experience. My point of concern is about the other side of the student side, because it seems like the students are using it more than even the faculty using it. And in the process, students tend to use it irresponsibly, possibly by cheating or copying and pasting, especially the graduate school. What approach do you use to see how you can bring the students to understand how to use it responsibly? That's my question.
Right, so thinking about how do we ensure on our campuses our students are using AI responsibly? Do you want to talk a little bit about what you guys are doing at a high level at Forsyth Tech?
So we have a task force. Dr. Spriggs talked about it this morning, and it formed organically, and then some subcommittees as well of faculty to make sure, and there's policies being written to make sure that there's a very general understanding of what is okay and what is not okay. And how to use it, but also is just really empowering them, because they're going to use it, right? Like, I'm a student as well at Western Carolina, and I use it. I don't use it to write a paper, right? But it's very helpful sometimes to get ideas. So it's just really staying ahead of all of the things that are coming as much as you can, so that when you are meeting in your task force, you kind of know what the students are looking at and keep that policy up to date. Yeah.
I think also being transparent about what AI is. I think a lot of students think, oh, AI is ChatGPT. And it's not just that. It's Grammarly. It's, Meta now on social media. You search a certain way. In Google, you search a certain way, and the way that information is being presented or manipulated, there's a lot of different types of AI. And I know for classes that I teach, I have a lot of students who I look at something and I can clearly see, this is AI. This was not original content. And we have a discussion about it. Hey, I have had speeches, I have had papers where I have writer's block and I needed a little bit of oomph, or I'm running short on time and I need it to help me. But there's a difference, explaining academic ethics and, using it to help you start something and not finish it for you. Yeah, there's a difference. And so I think right now we're in such a frontier that we can't, it's hard for me to expect my students not to use it. Like you said, they're going to use it. And so the key is to teach them how to be ethical in their use.
Yeah, and I think about it, right, in our roles, we're using it to help in our job. And so, okay, it's a little bit the student's job is to learn, so how do we show them that? And then, you know, I've seen different things from different institutions. Some are, here's personal. I had a daughter who attended 3 different institutions in one semester. 2 community colleges in Iowa and Drake University. And when AI came out, I said, what are their policies? I was very curious. And she's like, Drake, where she graduated from, said, and she was in communications and marketing, their stance was, you're not gonna get a job if you don't know how to use this. And they have one of the best journalism schools in the country. So we're gonna teach you how to use it right in your job. So kind of going off of that. But then she had one of the other community colleges she went to, they were like, can't use it at all. And then the third one said, you can use it to help enhance, but you need to come up with your own content. And so I think you hit it perfectly, Courtney. It's kind of the frontier right now. Each institution's trying to figure that out. But really the outcome for all of us is that our students are successful, our students are employable. And so I think, you know, we're all using it, and I know many of you, the head nods, and we're very excited to get back and start using it in your roles. You can be that voice, even though you might not be teaching, you can be that voice on the campus to say, okay, let's help them learn. Let us show them how we're using it in our daily jobs. Because you're still the one, you know, I mean, professors are using it, but they still are the experts and have that subject matter experts. So I think it'll be interesting and continue to have people share in our user community. But I think all of you can bring some knowledge to the table too, to maybe help some of that around your institution. And if your institution doesn't have a cross-collaboration committee coming together, maybe you can go back and be the one to say, hey, let's bring some folks together, because any of you who are in admissions, you're going to get asked that question from a prospective student on just sort of what the stance on that is. So good information. All right, we have time for a few more, or if anybody, we have one over here.
I'd love to hear about your best practices with the knowledge source, the knowledge base. Like, do you audit once a year, a couple weeks? How do you handle that?
Every day, multiple times a day, sometimes at night.
Yeah, in my dreams.
Yeah. I think, so our student care team will tag me or assign me a conversation when BlazeBot has kind of gone a little awry, or maybe said, I don't know, or something like that. So very much like Courtney, when I came into the role, I set up meetings across campus and met with them. I'm meeting with them biannually, so I'll meet with them every 6 months to make sure that something hasn't changed, because I know it did, and I just didn't find out about it. And so that's what we're doing with those big meetings. We're doing every 6 months. You might do something different, but and then also just keeping an eye on those conversations, looking in your insights, because it'll tell you where the gaps are, which is amazing element. It's so good at that. Literally, you can click on the link to the conversation to see what was said and where the gap was. So all the time, keeping it as up to date as possible.
Yeah, similarly, multiple times a year. I think we monitor conversations all the time in admissions and recruiting, so we can see exactly when the bot has said something that we're like, yeah, and we call it gray matter, like it was correct, but and so those custom answers really come in handy when there's something very specific. If you have a very specific policy, or maybe our biggest hurdle that we've had to overcome is feed it the catalog. Okay, but the catalog might not have it all the information, and so the bot is, you know, pulling from here and pulling from here. Well, it's correct information, but not for the question that the student is asking, or we wanted it to provide a little bit more different context. And so those custom answers, making sure that you have a way to make it sound like what you guys would tell a student has been super helpful and a tip that I would definitely recommend if you have sticky situations.
And I think you can be surprised with, but you mentioned looking at the insights of, oh, I didn't realize so many students cared about that, or they're asking that. You might be surprised on some of the information that, it's a good pulse check on what the students are looking for or what they want. So, go ahead.
Yes, hey, thanks. So similar question with a variation. Your institution is very, very fortunate to have a dedicated role for that job, keeping track of the knowledge base, updating it and whatnot. And it seems that you have a lot of buy-in from your administrators, from your different departments, people coming to you with this stuff. What would you imagine would be a good response if you were in exactly the opposite situation? You didn't have a role, you didn't have faculty or leadership support, your department was very small. What would you recommend in that case?
You have the dedicated role for the knowledge base.
I do. So but we didn't always, right? So before, it was kind of scattered across a bunch of people to keep what was internal, even before we were using the bot, updated. And that, there's no way around it. That is complicated, right? Just because you have people changing things and you don't know it got changed. But I think really is just trying to make sure that as much as you can is unifying that. That if you can keep the updates within one department maybe or something like that, it will probably make it easier, but.
Yeah, we're the small team. So I have 2 admissions specialists, 2 recruiters, and myself. And I captain Element at TVCC. And so it's really, it's hard to get buy-in at first for something that someone doesn't understand. And it's definitely taken time. Like I said, Rome wasn't built in a day. This thing didn't happen overnight, but slowly but surely, when people started to see what we were able to do and how we were able to support students, they wanted to be a part of it. They wanted to have their answers, their specific things for students. And so it all kind of came together. It's not easy to manage and having to pull so many different departments together. Something that my supervisor has us all do is sustainability calendars. So I know every time during this year I need to go back in and check X, Y, and Z in Element. I need to update the terms. I need to open new applications. I need to go through the knowledge base. And so you pull a team together, you send out the email and say, what updates do you have? And that has made it easier to manage, having just every single year in February, in June, and in August, or whatever it is, like that period of time, I know that I'm going to go back through.
We heard a little bit this morning of just start small. So think about it of like, if you're a small staff, where could this help us the most immediately? And then you have those successes and you build upon that. And one thing I always think about is, what are the things I can control? So if you know that you can control this certain area, then let's do it right, and then other people will come on. And so just kind of breaking that down, because it starts small. Like if, some folks are like, you know what, it would help us tremendously if we could just use it to help us better get students around financial aid or get them to apply. Then just focus, get that, refine it, watch your insights, and then, okay, that's working good. Let's add the next one. And it's okay to have it be this, milestones along the way.
We actually have a celebrity guest that wants to weigh in. So
Okay.
Devin wants to.
You got 1 minute.
Okay, so just to give, because I had to vie for the role. And so one thing that we were able to do is we looked at some of the data and we, ultimately, I'm sorry, I know that we don't like to refer to our students as customers or our colleges as a business, but it is. And so if I can prove 67,000 minutes, like how much would we have to pay someone to be able to do that? And to maintain that, or 10% increase in enrollment. Like how many students would you have to enroll to offset the cost of that salary? So I think with leadership, being able to bring those numbers and sort of prove the ROI was something really, really crucial for us to be able to secure Hannah's role.
Thank you. All right. Well, thank you very much. I think we're just about out of time, so thank you to our panelists.
Awesome. Thanks so much. And yeah, just the whole creating buy-in and ROI, that's such a huge piece. And Hannah's response to one of those was just being able to go in and push and challenge your team to use it and try more. Creating that buy-in is huge. So incredible panel. And also, Courtney's incredibly humble. She said they got it up pretty quick. You guys got Bullbot up in like 4 or 5 days.
5 days.
Yeah, right. Yeah, she's in humble. That's incredibly quick. So great job. Thanks again.